Hey guys, and welcome back to another Cultured Boys discussion. I'm Pepe, and I'm joined by Nathan, and today we're going to be talking about Marvel films. That's right, we're going to be going through the back catalogue of some of our favourite and least favourite films from the MCU. Maybe a little bit outside the MCU. Maybe we talk about the Netflix stuff. Maybe we talk about the Sony stuff. We'll see how it goes. How are you doing, Nate?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm excited. Feels like a big part of modern history now.
Yeah.
Like if you're even remotely quote unquote like nerdy, you've seen at least one of these films, right? So it just feels like it feels like a momentous occasion, even though it's just talking about these films that have been out for the last God knows how long.
It's like, what is it? Like, Iron Man came out in maybe like 2008, 2009, I think.
I think so. I remember watching that in cinemas. Like that's how long ago it was. I think I was still in secondary school.
It was a secondary school thing, yeah, because I remember Iron Man 2 came out in, I feel like it was 2010. It came out, and it wasn't as good as the first one, but anyway, it's quite a momentous occasion these days for cinema when a big Marvel film comes out, because it's like established itself in that sort of like it's one of the biggest movie franchises of all time at this point.
Yeah, I mean they've done well for it though. They put in the groundwork to make this connected universe of films, and whilst we may have seen things like similar things happen before, I feel like nothing's been as successful as the MCU.
No, especially like you look at like DC, for example, like
Oh,
they've
God.
attempted it, but like it's like the Marvel MCU web, like quote unquote, like the sort of like the different branches you can go off like down. Like it doesn't just have to be the Avengers. There's also like all these other heroes which aren't exactly tied into them.
Yeah.
And it just all comes together, and they do it really well. What they do for.
Yeah, and I mean, they've done pretty good. There's obviously stumbles here and there, some films that aren't as good, but you're never always going to be like 100%, you're not always going to hit home runs. It's cool. So, off of that then, if you had to pick like one,
Okay.
what would you say is your favorite Marvel film?
It's a tough one because I feel like I've gone through phases of what my favorites have been. Because like more recently, like obviously you can tell the quality between these films right now. Because like look at Iron Man 1 for example, it is a brilliant film.
Yeah.
But there's certain things if you look back at it, you're like, oh okay, it's because it kind of falls into that sort of dated sort of thing right now.
Yeah.
Where it was the first one, so even though it was good, it still has kind of flaws here and there. Whereas you compare it to something like Shang-Chi, for example, where Shang-Chi comes through with some of the like sickest action we've ever seen in Marvel movies. But my favorite, I love the Doctor Strange film. I love that one. Like I think Doctor Strange has always been before he was in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I knew about Doctor Strange through my dad.
Oh, okay.
Funny enough, because he told me about like some of his favorite like comic books back in the day. One of them was Thor, and the other was Doctor Strange.
Okay.
And when I played the Marvel vs. Capcom games as well, that was like one of the first times I've seen him like appear like in sort of newer media. Like I think it's because Doctor Strange has that sort of like it's the mystical element sort of thing, and it's like it's not like your typical like his Iron Man shooting off some laser beams and fighting bad guys. Doctor Strange is always like sort of that like supernatural kind of vibe about him, and like the sort of like the weirdness of it as well. Like I really enjoyed that. That was one of my favorites. And fucking Benedict Cumberbatch is playing him as well, so like, I'm a massive fan of that guy. He's a good actor.
Yeah, he's very good. It's solid choice for Stephen Strange.
Yeah, but I love the like Spider-Man films. Like I love them. I think like Tom Holland is probably he's probably one of my favorite Spider-Man. But nothing against Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire. They're both we've like so many people have seen No Way Home at this point, so everyone's like raving about them. It's barely a spoiler at this point.
Yeah.
Everyone knows this is the thing.
But just in case, spoiler warning. We just spoiled it for you.
I mean, like, if you haven't seen No Way Home by now and don't know about Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire's like thing, you've done well. You've done really well to avoid those spoilers.
You've done really well, but also, we're like technically by this point we're late to the game on that. You know, like we're
100%.
by
Yeah,
putting this out, we're late to the game. If you haven't even seen things because of interviews after the film came out, where they basically just say it all the time now as well, then I don't know how you did it. You're a magician of some sort. Maybe
yeah,
you're
you're
the
like
sorcerer supreme.
Stephen Strange level of avoiding spoilers.
Yeah, you cast some
um,
spell where you just forgot everything. Like,
but yeah, like the Spider-Man films, Doctor Strange, I'd say Shang-Chi, Black Panther, like some of my top ones, I'd say. What about you, Nathan? What's some of your favorites?
um, for the longest time, I used to say Iron Man 1 was actually my favorite because I really liked that film. I used to always say that because as a kid, we used to watch the Marvel cartoons on Fox
Oh,
Kids.
yeah.
And I used to watch Spider-Man or the Amazing Spider-Man, the 90s cartoon, which was amazing. And it often was followed up by Iron Man. But the Iron Man cartoon was always really boring.
Yeah.
And so for the longest, I actually hated Iron Man. As a kid, I thought he was the dullest character. And then this film came out and just flipped the script. And I suddenly cared about a character that previously I thought was just dull and all he did was wear a metal suit and talk.
Yeah. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. brought that character to life, though, didn't he? Yeah, man.
RDJ in that role is amazing.
You can see why he was like one of the highest paid actors. Like,
Oh, yeah.
was he the highest paid actor in that?
He was the highest paid in most of the films.
Understandably so, because he, like, honestly, he's iconic with that character now.
The thing is, like, I think only recently was Iron Man dethroned on my list.
Oh, yeah.
And it's gonna sound bad because it's like, oh, it's the latest film. And yes, it is the latest film and it's the freshest in my mind, but like Spider-Man actually was like No Way Home was so good. I loved it so much that I think that's actually my favorite at the moment.
Yeah. I can understand why though, because it brought a lot to the table. Like it brought a lot of that nostalgia back. And even like it still had kept with that sort of modern sort of like the Tom Holland Spider-Man sort of vibe though, you know what I mean?
Yeah, plus it turned it around, whereas like Tom Holland's Spider-Man so far, before the second film, like even most of the second film was still sort of like a happy little romp, you know, like, oh, I'm a teenager and I'm a superhero kind of thing, you know, like it felt really lighthearted until the end of the second film, and then it rolls over to this film, and like now Peter has to actually realize it's not all as easy as he thought it was. His actions have consequences, and that's where you get now, you know, this film, you get the famous line, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. And he has to deal with a lot of heavy stuff, and there's some scenes in it that you're just like, man, that's really good. Like, for example, spoilers again, if you haven't seen it, don't complain, you've had enough time. Like, you know, when after May dies and he's on the roof of the school and he needs all the help, like he needs to be brought out of that funk, right? And you got MJ there and Ned, and then you've got Toby and Andrew, and they're like, you know, like they're all like, look, you need to power through this. We've all gone through it. It's tough, but that's what happens when you're Spider-Man. This is what happens when you live this life. This is what you chose. And unfortunately, that's what you have to deal with. And like, I felt like that film like dealt with a lot of stuff that it just felt like Tom Holland Spider-Man almost was never going to touch for some reason.
Yeah, it kind of like pushed it. Like they just told that story so well. It's the fact that Aunt May died is like kind of like it kind of needed to happen. So like Peter Parker from that universe actually like felt that pain, and you probably you proper see that when he's fighting Green Goblin at the end.
Oh man, that was so good as well, because it's like they build it up like, oh, I'm good now, don't worry about me, guys, I'm solid, right? And you go through all of that cool fight scenes, you know, each Spider-Man is doing their thing, and then it comes down to that and it's just a beat down. That's all it is. It's Peter working out all of his aggression, but he's still a kid. So he forgets he's got to control himself, that he's a superhuman, and that if he really wanted to, he could kill this guy right now. And he really, really wants to. And he almost does, because, you know, when he picks up the glider after beating the crap out of him, and you're like, oh no, here we go. Like, this is it. This is bad. But then, like, they manage to convince him not to do it because of the other Spider-Man. And you're just like, oh man, it's heart-wrenching.
But can we just talk about this? Like my favorite point of this film, right? Like when I finished watching No Way Home, I fucking loved Willem Dafoe in this.
Oh my god, he was so good.
He was like, honestly, he was like my favorite part of the thing, just because he brought that villainous, like top level villain.
Dude, he was like the best performance in the whole film.
100%, like the craze in his eyes, the fact that he can just bring that out is just like, bro,
the switch was amazing.
100, because he went from Norman to Goblin, and you can see that in his eye. The switch, that is it. Like the switch between Norman and fucking the Green Goblin is insane.
Everything was so good, down from like his tone to his body language, like everything. It was like a completely different person. When he was Norman Osborn, he was so confused and timid, and you're like, oh man, I feel bad for him. And then when he's the Goblin, you're just like, wow.
Right.
Wow, the transformation is real.
Yeah, see, this is the thing, right? With the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films, like I always felt like the second one was better than the first one.
Yeah.
Just because, like, I don't know, I prefer Doc Ock as a villain, but I don't know, man. Like seeing Willem in this fucking film, I'm just like, nah, this guy is next up. He's easily one of the top villains in the whole Marvel franchise, I'm willing to say, because like. He just brought, like, granted, like, he's probably not the most powerful. He's not like Thanos snap, kill half the universe vibes.
No, he's not. But like, I know what you mean. It is just like, oh.
In terms of villains, he's like the performance, man. The performance is too good.
He was so sadistic, and it was done so well that you actually really hated him when he switched to Goblin. You really, really physically hated him. And like when Peter's giving him the beatdown, you're like, yeah, you deserve that.
Yeah. And even then, with the beatdown, you know that's playing into Goblin's hands as well, because he wants that.
Yeah.
You know for a fact that even when Peter's winning, you know for a fact that Goblin's still getting the higher ground with that beatdown. That's how good it is.
Yeah, well, because that's what he wanted, innit? Like the whole film he was basically saying to Peter, you've got all this power and you don't know how to use it to take what you want. And that whole beatdown was exactly what Goblin wanted. He wanted Peter to sink into the depths of despair and use his powers to take what he wants. And at that moment, he wanted Peter to kill him, because then Peter would be no better than he is.
It was just like, man, incredible. Like that film really did bring it. Like that was a great film.
Yeah, and that's why, even though I still really like Iron Man, I think No Way Home is, like, for me, the best Marvel film at the moment. And I say at the moment because we've got way more films to come. Doesn't seem like the MCU is going to stop anytime soon.
No,
so who knows? If from Iron Man to No Way Home, they've just been getting better and better at what they're doing. And now that, Feige is given more freedom to directors and writers, who knows what's to come? I mean, we still got Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness, and that, I don't know if you've heard, but like apparently they've been doing reshoots, so there's more cameos and stuff from other heroes in different universes and things. Like this film is like technically chalking up to be like an utter madness of a film that should probably be on paper like the best one.
This is the thing, right? Like, I think they've seen the success of Spider-Man. They're like, okay, cool. How do we improve Marvel films like for this in the future? And honestly, the whole multiverse thing is it opened up so many more opportunities.
I mean, like they teased all multiverse stuff even in the Disney Plus shows, because that's how it all like feeds into it. That's like what Loki is about with the TVA, like, and like the whole Wonder and Vision, like that's what she was doing. She created her own little universe, and she even like they got the actor who played Quicksilver in the Fox films, like in the younger version of the X-Men, and he was in it for a little bit, and they were like, what? He's like Quicksilver, but then like they do a little switcheroo, and it's like, oh no, it's actually just the actor who played the character.
Oh, okay, I get you. I see. I haven't seen any of the Disney Plus shows. Because I only got Disney Plus. I used a friend's account recently.
They're all very good. The only one that I sort of didn't enjoy as much, because I didn't think it was a TV series, is Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Felt more like a short film.
Okay.
Because it's shot and feels like any other Captain America like movie. But with TV, it's sort of like there's a certain pacing and there's a way you tell stories that's a bit different, and it just felt like, because everyone knows that Falcon and the Winter Soldier basically leads on to Captain America 4, but it literally just felt like a short film that normally they probably would have put on YouTube or something, that goes in between like Avengers and then Captain America.
So it's like filling in the gaps, basically.
Yeah,
is what we're saying.
Because you see what happens after Steve Rogers like gives up the shield, and then it fills in and is like, oh, they'll return in Captain America. Because anyone who knows comic books even a little bit, Falcon is at one point the new Captain America.
Okay, interesting.
But like the other two, I would definitely suggest. Like, WandaVision is really interesting because it does like a whole like TV trope thing. So each episode kind of goes through a different time period of TV.
Okay.
So it's just interesting how they like the costume and set design change and like the kind of weird situations you get put into, but it somehow leads into a bigger story, which then will lead into the MCU.
Okay, yeah, that's fair because the thing is, I think I've said this to many people, and I got mixed reviews on mixed reviews on how I felt about this, but like I'm not like Wanda and Vision, like Scarlet Witch and Vision, they're not my favorite characters.
I understand that.
Like in out of like a selection, like I think there's certain things that I've just. I don't know. I don't vibe them as much, which is why a lot of people said that WandaVision is good.
Yeah, it is a really good show.
I am inclined to try and like push through my biases and
I would suggest you
give
do
it a shot. Yeah,
because I mean, whilst we've been bigging up the MCU, there is the downfall or the downside of being invested in the MCU, in which you're kind of almost required to watch everything that is even remotely linked to it, because at some point you'll kind of watch something and if you miss something, you're like, I don't know what that's about, and someone will explain it and you're like, oh, that's because I didn't watch that TV show or I didn't watch that whatever, you know what I mean? Like that's the only problem with the MCU nowadays.
You kind of locked in. Yeah,
it's so connected, but it's branched out so much further than just films. Like
I feel like if I want to watch Multiverse of Madness as well, I feel like I have to watch WandaVision because like you've seen that like Scarlet Witch is in that trailer.
Yeah.
So I kind of need to fill in the gaps where I was.
The reason she like looks the way she does is directly from WandaVision, so you should probably watch that for that.
Yeah.
I think Loki also kind of ties into that, but I don't think so heavily.
Like Loki's one of the ones that I actually do really want to watch because I absolutely love. Like Loki is a great villain in the MCU anyway.
I love the show,
but I also love Tom Hiddleston's like a good actor as well. So
I easily recommend Loki. Like that's such a good show. But also, like there's more shows coming, so free up some time.
Yeah, that's it. Well, you got Hawkeye as well. That's out there.
Oh yeah, Hawkeye was all right. It wasn't too bad. It was a decent way to show off the, potentially the new Hawkeye.
Yeah. Okay. And then there's also fucking Moon Knight's coming out soon as well.
Dude, the trailer for that looked awesome.
I haven't seen the trailer, so I need again. Like, I probably just need to go through a time of just watching all these Marvel shows on Disney Plus. There's What If. I know it's probably not tied into as much, but the Marvel What If.
But they are.
Are they actually? Okay.
Well, so for Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, you've seen that trailer, right?
Yeah.
So there's that other Doctor Strange, the dark one, like the evilish looking one. There's a version of him in What If. A lot of people, the theory is that the one from What If is the one in the movie.
Okay. I need to watch it.
And that in that film also there's other cameos from characters in What If. But also just watch What If because they're actually really good. They were, even if they weren't connected, they were cool. And I would recommend you watch them. The animation's pretty good. And they tell some interesting stories that you might not have ever thought about in the MCU or like in the Marvel universe in general.
I've heard of two. Like I was talking to someone yesterday and they were saying that there's one where if Ultron won in Avengers 2 and there's the zombies one as well.
Yeah.
So those two that have been recommended to me. So, but okay. If I were to start watching these, then is there a specific order I should watch these in? Like, do I have to watch them in chronological order when they were released, or is there certain ones that you say, "Oh, I'd watch this one first"? Like,
I don't think the shows actually link to each other, which is good.
Okay, sound. So, like, if I wanted to, because I really want to watch Loki, like,
I think you can just pick and choose. You just watch whatever.
Okay, sound.
I'm sure somebody online has figured out a watch order, but I would say personally, just watch in whatever order you feel like, because their details will leak into the MCU, but I'm pretty sure they don't link together in any way.
I get you. Okay. I'll add it to my list on those sort of things. on the other hand, what I actually finished watching yesterday, coincident, is Eternals. Have you seen that at all?
I have. What did you think before I say what I think?
Okay, so my thoughts on Eternals. Again, there's going to be spoilers here, so just a little spoiler warning before.
Even if it is, it's spoilers for my opinion. Like, we can spoil it. I don't think you'll be missing out on much.
Okay, so I thought first half of the film was such a slog. I literally turned it off halfway through because I was just like, I'm not vibing with this. I don't really like it that much. I was like, this is the thing, right? I got halfway through and I've asked multiple people, have you watched Eternals? I'm struggling with it. And everyone's like, no, I haven't watched that film. So I've asked some of the biggest Marvel fans I know. Oh, what do you think? What do you think of Eternals? They're like, oh, we haven't actually watched it. And I'm like, oh, okay. I feel like I was like one of the first people. Like, clearly you've watched it, so maybe I should have asked you. But second half, I thought got better. Like, there's the first half of it. I was just like, this is painful to get through. But
Yeah.
I think when it got into towards the end, when again spoilers, it's when Icarus's true motives were revealed.
Yeah, that was cool.
And honestly, I still think that Richard Madden, who plays Icarus, is actually a phenomenal actor as well. Like he came through, like he did a good villain there, and and there's sort of like coming together, like some of the Eternals coming together fighting. I thought, okay, it's quite good action. Not the best action we've seen in Marvel movies, but still decent enough. If I saw it in cinemas, I think I'd be disappointed. But I'm kind of like, no, I feel like it's all right. I don't think it's horrible. The first half is a slog. Second half gets better. But what did you think of it, though? What did you think of it?
I would agree with you wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I almost watched it in cinemas, and I'm glad I didn't manage to, because like you said, if I had paid to watch that film in the cinema, I would have been pissed off and I would want a refund. But I knew some people who watched it and they told me it was like the worst film ever. I don't think it's quite the worst film ever. It's very close to one of the worst Marvel films ever, but it's not as bad as people say. Pepe's right. It's very slow to start. And I think the biggest problem was that they kind of wanted you to care about these fucking celestial beings, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're not very established.
Yeah.
You just sort of see them do stuff, and then it's like modern day. And then they're like, care for these people. And you're like, I don't even know who they are.
Yeah. It is that sort of thing. And it's like sort of like if you did an Avengers film, but you didn't introduce you didn't do all the backstory of Iron Man, Captain America, Thor. Well, you just bring him straight in, and it kind of just feels like you don't know the characters enough. And as you said, mate, it isn't the worst film I've seen. There's other Marvel films I've seen.
Oh yeah, there's definitely one in my mind already.
Okay, like going off of this, because we wanted to I'm interested to see what your least favorite Marvel film is.
Okay,
go. I'm curious.
Easily, I will say Thor 2 is the worst Marvel film ever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't blame any of the actors. Like, okay, like people, they worked hard. I'm sure everyone worked hard on that film, but that film was god awful. It was boring the whole time, and like half of it didn't make sense, and you just didn't give a shit. The only reason I cared was because they filmed in London. That was it.
Yeah, it really was a step down. Like, this is the thing, right? I think
they filmed in the UK. Like, that's the only thing I care about. Like,
it was in Greenwich, wasn't it? Yeah. They did a bit of that. But no, the first Thor film I thought was very average. I think Thor 2, Dark World, was a bit of a step down from average. It was below average. But Thor 3 was sick. I absolutely loved.
Oh, okay. The way you were talking there, I was like, oh, we're gonna have words. If you're gonna say Ragnarok was the worst one, I'm about to have words with you.
Dramatic pause for effects. Nah, Thor 3 was sick. I think that was one of the best ones. Like, it's a top tier Marvel film. That
one. Dude, Ragnarok was so good. So good.
Man, I gotta just give a shout out to Korg, because he is the fucking best part of that film. It's just Taika Waititi just doing his best.
Oh, bro, like Korg is the best character. Like,
so freaking good.
Although that does make me excited for the fourth Thor movie. Fucking hell, that's a tongue twister.
Four.
Yeah, Love and Thunder, because it's Jane Foster as Thor. And that's always interesting.
I'm open to seeing what else, like whatever comes next. Like I'm curious though. It'd be good. If I was to say my least favorite, it's probably gonna fall down to, I'd say, like you said, like Dark World is there, and I think maybe Iron Man 2 as well.
Yeah,
because like Iron Man 3 is borderline there as well, because
oh god, Iron Man 3 is so close as well. Yeah,
Iron Man 1 was so good. And then you bring in 2, which is just like a massive step down. And like, I didn't really vibe with the villain that was in it.
Whiplash.
Whiplash, that was it. I didn't think he was that much of a threat. And then I think it got to a point, like Marvel films had that sort of comedy element to them.
Yeah.
But there's also that good, like a good amount of action, right? Where like this just felt like a comedy movie rather than like action, like the Iron Man that we saw.
The problem is, and I watched a video about it ages ago, is they released Iron Man without the thought of doing the Avengers yet, because they wasn't sure how successful it would be.
Yeah.
And then Iron Man was like the most popular, and then they could launch all these other films, and then they tried to set up for the Avengers. So actually Iron Man 2 is a soft reboot of Iron Man so that he fits more into the MCU and the Avengers.
Oh.
Because like, he like learns all his lessons and stuff in the first one, and it seems like in the second one he has to like do it all over again, and it was really weird. That's why, is because they soft rebooted him so that he could learn some lessons and then prove himself, so then he could then be considered for the Avengers.
Yeah,
it sucked. It was a bad choice.
And they got Don Cheadle in it though, so
yeah.
Was it Cuba Gooding Jr. they had in the first one, and then they replaced him?
No, it was
it's not Cuba Gooding.
I forget.
Was it not? Fuck.
No, I forget the guy's name. Either way, it's someone different. It is someone different.
It's someone different, yeah. Oh, fair. Okay, I got that wrong. But no, Don Cheadle's sick in it. Like, granted, I don't think like War Machine. Is it War Machine?
Yeah, War Machine.
Yeah, I was about to say Warmonger.
That's a different character, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's from Black Panther. But no, War Machine. Like, granted, I don't think he's the best character in the MCU, but like Don Cheadle's a good actor, so it's fine.
Well, I mean, from everything I know, like War Machine is normally just like the more like weaponized or standard weaponized like Iron Man. That's when you're like, okay, we need the firepower, and then you send him in because he's got the Gatling gun on the shoulder and stuff.
Yeah, exactly that. But Iron Man 2, like borderline Iron Man 3 as well. I was just like,
Yeah, I will say though, I do love that they redeemed that Mandarin character.
Yes,
from Iron Man 3 in Shang-Chi. That was hilarious.
That was actually brilliant. I love his little introduction that he came in. Like, I was like, and he's like, "Oh, I'm this thespian sort of," and he's what was the little creature he had? He named it
Norris.
Something. Norris. That was
Norris or Morris, or both.
I feel like it was more. I feel like it was Morris actually, but that was so cute, man. That little
that thing was cute, but like that guy's character was so funny. Like, I became an actor because my mom took me to see Planet of the Apes, and I thought if monkeys could do it, so could I.
Yeah.
And they're like, you mean actual monkeys? Yeah.
Oh man, it is good. Like, is it Ben Kingsley that plays him? I think. Yeah, he's that's a good thing about these Marvel films. They have the budget to get these sick actors on board.
Dude, like so many big names, and like it's sometimes they don't even do what you think they do.
Yeah. See, this is okay. This is talking about big names as well. Supposedly, what do you think about Tom Cruise as Iron Man? We've seen the rumors.
I think that's interesting, and I think if it's just a cameo, they could get him. They could easily get him if they had the money to pay RDJ every time and the entire cast and the amount of money these films make. I can't see that Disney wouldn't fork out the money to get him to appear for like, I don't know, like a minute or something, even as just like a what if.
Like no, with Tom Cruise there, it kind of like, nothing against Tom Cruise, right? But like I feel like his peak was in the like maybe early 2000s, maybe 90s sort of thing, right?
What, you reckon he doesn't have the appeal to...
Not that he doesn't have the appeal, but like I feel like having Tom Cruise as Iron Man kind of feels like a meme at this point. Like it just feels like it's kind of dated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I'd still like to see it.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I reckon like he'd probably do a sick job at it. But like, I've nothing against Tom Cruise. Like, he's done some sick films.
I mean, I think the cooler rumor for cameos is that like supposedly, Hugh Jackman might be coming back as Wolverine for a cameo.
If like honestly, yeah, I'm down for that. Like,
Yeah,
Hugh Jackman's like, yeah.
So there's some things like that, or like they might have Agent Carter who is coming back, but as the What If version where she's Captain America instead. Well, not Captain America, but she's Captain Carter. So she takes the super serum instead.
Yeah.
And so like there's supposedly cameos like that. There's a lot of these kind of things that I'm like, I'm excited for that. I think it'd be really cool as long as it's done well and not just sort of like, oh look, here's a character for the sake of it. And you're just like, oh, wow, you're just trying to distract me from the shit that's on the screen. Do you know what I mean? Like as long as it's done well and there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
And not just sort of like, just because we can.
Yeah, I get that. I'm open to see what happens anyway. I feel like I need to go into these Disney Plus shows and actually kind of like get a little deep dive. Especially if the What If as well, if it ties into Multiverse.
Oh, dude, seriously, those What Ifs are so good. They are so good. I really, really enjoyed them. And like, as soon as it was coming to an end, they were like, yeah, we're doing a season 2. And like, basically the internet and the world like exploded with excitement, me included, because it's like, they were really fucking good. If I had to recommend any of the shows, that What If is probably one of the first ones I would recommend. I just really enjoyed them.
Okay, cool. I'll start that next. I'm going to start What If next. I'm going to do that. Because I think it ties into the multiverse quite well as well. And that comes out in May? Multiverse of Madness, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's May.
I think so, yeah. It's supposed to be out close to summer, isn't it? Like, it's one of the first ones to release this year.
It's like they're slowly getting back into the like theatrical releases of these films now. They've gone past the whole hey, it's available to stream. They've gone into like, yep, there we go. Cinema releases, there we go.
I think they pick and choose, to be honest. And like they can easily also afford to be like, we are doing a theatrical release, but the film's also going to come out on Disney Plus like a month, 2 months later, because we can.
A bit of controversy around that, Nathan, especially with Scarlett Johansson. So
yeah, okay, but like as long as they're like sorting out contracts and shit before they make those decisions.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Yeah.
Because like, did you watch Black Widow as well?
I haven't seen Black Widow, no.
Okay, so I will say this: you're not missing out much. It was an okay film, but I felt like it might have been better as a TV show. Much like Eternals, I think would have been better as a TV show, but whatever. It was, that was a weird one. But I mean, like, as much as it sucked, it's like, not the film, but like the situation, right? It's like, well, it's either the film doesn't come out at all because no one could go to the cinema, or we put it on streaming services and people could still watch it.
Yeah.
So like,
you make the best out of a bad situation. It is, I know. I don't think we know enough about what went on behind the scenes as well. There's obviously stuff in the media right now, but we don't know exactly what went down. There's always like another side to the story that you sometimes don't hear about. So
I will say though, like they focused weirdly on the right character in that film, which is her sister.
Okay, yeah.
And
they're gonna
because she leads in, and obviously she will appear more. Because obviously Scarlett Johansson's character is dead.
Yeah, I feel like this is the thing. They're obviously trying to like move on to another Avengers sort of thing. Like, hey, here's another.
I'm trying not to say too much of what I know because I'm like, now you've said, oh, I'm gonna go watch these shows at some point. So I'm like, okay, I better not say too much because I don't want to spoil it for you and for the people who haven't watched these things.
Yeah, it's alright. We'll come back to it at some point. We'll have discussions.
But like, yeah, that film was alright. It should have been a TV show.
Speaking of TV shows, did you watch any of the Netflix Defenders?
I watched all of the Netflix ones.
Okay, so I didn't see any Jessica Jones, but I did see Iron Fist, Daredevil, and Luke Cage. Luke Cage, I haven't seen the second season of, and I just about got through Iron Fist. I think I finished it. I can't even remember.
Okay, so it's a shame you didn't watch Jessica Jones because that's actually one of the better ones.
I've heard that. That's the
and Iron Fist is easily
the
worst out of the 4. Yeah. But then if you put in Defenders, then Defenders is pretty bad too.
Oh, is it? Okay. I think I started first episode Defenders trying to go in blind, even though I hadn't seen Jessica Jones.
It's not great because like they didn't seem to know how to like put the 4 characters together in one series.
Yeah.
So it sort of just felt like each one written from their individual shows had like stuff to do, and then they would try and slot in one of the other characters. It didn't feel very good. I will say though, I do appreciate that. I forget his surname. I know his first name for some reason. The guy who plays Daredevil, Charlie something. I appreciate that he's back because I did really like him as Matt Murdock and as Daredevil.
They were like that was a good little cameo in No Way Home as well. I did like that.
I also have to say I really like that Vincent D'Onofrio is also back as Kingpin.
Oh yes.
But you'll know that from Hawkeye. It's not a spoiler because you'll see him anyway.
I've seen that he's back in these sort of things. So it's like...
But like those are two that I'm really glad are back. I would actually like to see Kirsten Ritter come back for Jessica Jones as well. But that's if Jessica Jones comes into the MCU. I'm not entirely sure how it's going to work because the Netflix shows are getting removed from Netflix on the 31st of March, I believe. That was announced recently. Okay. And the Marvel haven't actually said if any of these actors are coming back to reprise their roles. Like, we didn't even know if he was coming back to be Daredevil, but people were hoping. And it's like, I kind of want John Barenthal to come back as Punisher as well.
Oh, that was okay. I remember he was sick in the second season, Daredevil.
Yeah, I thought Punisher was really good as well. Luke Cage, the guy who plays Luke Cage, I'd like to see him come back, but I don't know because like the actors for that show, they moved around a lot. Like I think one of the guys in it, he's actually the new Blade. So I don't think he could reprise his role from a character in Luke Cage anymore.
If they're getting taken down, do you think they'll be put on Disney Plus?
I don't know.
Or do you think they just get taken down completely? Because I think if they get put on Disney Plus, then like it feels like there's it boosts that chance of those actors coming back and those characters coming back.
The only one I can see coming back on Disney Plus is Daredevil, but that's because the two biggest characters from that
have been confirmed.
Daredevil himself and Kingpin are in the MCU now. So that I could see. Maybe, but I actually don't really see these Netflix shows moving to Disney Plus at all. I personally think that they're just going to take them down and then that is it, because Disney basically kind of want to wipe these things away so that they could potentially do their own thing.
Yeah. Is it the same with because obviously all the Spider-Man films are on Netflix as well. Are they taking them down as well?
I haven't heard anything about the Spider-Man films getting taken down, but that's also a different thing. Because like you said before, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes things we don't know. So we don't know what's in the contract between Disney and Sony on that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's Disney who control the streaming rights or if it's Sony who do. It's a bit of a weird, business gray area. I
always found it weird that Far From Home was actually on Netflix. That's how I watched it. I always found that quite weird considering Disney had their streaming service out at that point.
Again, it's one of those, isn't it? Like, we don't know who controls what.
Exactly. But yeah, we'll see where it goes, see where the future of Marvel holds. Is there any I don't really know many Marvel heroes, apart from the MCU ones, because I haven't read any of the comic books or anything, and I'm not very clued up on TV shows. But is there any characters that you want to see come back, within the Marvel universe? Are you hyped about any certain heroes at all?
I want to see how they will do any of the X-Men, or because it's supposedly going to be the last film on the slate for this phase of Marvel films, I want to see how they're going to do Fantastic Four as well.
Yeah, bloody Fantastic Four.
Because we had those early 2000s films that were kind of like kids' films. I only watched the first one.
Although I didn't mind the first one. I thought that was quite good.
I liked the first one. I didn't watch Silver Surfer.
We were kids at the same time, so I saw Silver Surfer and it was weird.
And then I didn't watch that one they did where Michael B. Jordan was the Human Torch. But I heard that film was terrible, but they only made that so they could keep the film rights anyway.
Yeah.
But I'd be interested to see how they do it. Mostly because I'm the MCU has established they don't always do an origin story, right? With Spider-Man, we didn't have the origin story. He just was already Spider-Man. So I'm kind of curious if they would do the same for the Fantastic Four. Are we going to get an origin story or are they just going to chuck them in? Do you know what I mean?
Ooh, it's a tough one, isn't it? I don't know. I was thinking it kind of feels weird if they do another origin story, because I feel like they've already been established a little bit, but who knows? Who knows where they'll go with it? Sorry.
Plus, I mean, the origin story isn't that fantastic anyway. Like, they go into space, they get hit with a solar flare or something, and then they come back with powers. Like,
yeah.
It's like Batman's origin story. You kind of don't need it anymore, you know, like everyone knows. And I feel like Fantastic Four is along that way. But along with the Fantastic Four, because I've been talking to people about it, and I'm wondering if they'll do the Marvel Illuminati. And basically that's Doctor Strange, Professor X, Black Panther, Namor the Submariner, and Iron Man come together to basically, behind closed doors, decide how they're going to protect the world, because they're the leaders of like different aspects of like the superhuman culture.
Interesting. Okay.
And I'm wondering if they would do that in the MCU, but how would they do that when there's no Iron Man right now?
Yeah.
Namor the Submariner isn't in the MCU yet.
Mm-hmm.
Reed Richards from Fantastic Four isn't in the MCU yet. Professor X isn't in the MCU yet. So it's like
we're a long way off. Yeah.
Well, also like in itself, I kind of want to see what Black Panther 2 is going to be like.
It's actually going ahead.
They started production again. Like, I know the fan base was saying you can just recast him. And like, I know that his family was saying like, it's fine, recast him. That's what he would want for the character, rather than like making a different Black Panther and just leaving that the actual character of T'Challa to just not exist anymore.
Yeah, that's fair. There's a lot of big shoes to fill with that.
Yeah. Chadwick Boseman was very, very good.
Yeah, it was that was a good movie. I love that. I'll be interested to see that. That sounds like a good concept though. Like, I feel like it's going to be further down the line with the Illuminati thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're called the Illuminati. That's what's weird about it, because, you know, like, to say that in real life is like, it feels like you're gonna bring on all the like internet conspiracy theorists and whatever.
Oh, I can't wait for the Illuminati. Yeah, I get you.
I feel like if that does happen, it's going to be way in the future, and it's maybe not something you'll see or hear of a lot, but like they'll have sprinklings of it, and it'll probably be to do with whatever the next big bad is after Kang the Conqueror, or whoever's after him, or however many big bads is in the future.
I mean, they've still got what's his face as well, Galactus. That's a thing.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like right now, we don't even technically know who the true big bad is.
Yeah.
Again, it's like Kang the Conqueror has been shown, and we know he's pretty bad, and Galactus is sort of teased, I think. You know, like, we don't know if both or one of them, you know, like, we don't know what's going on. So I don't know. I feel like it's a great time to be a Marvel movie fan, or like Marvel multimedia franchise fan. And it sucks if you don't know, because you have got so much to catch up on.
There's a lot. There's a lot to process with that franchise right now. But yeah, that's fair. Anything else you want to say about Marvel stuff, Nathan?
Not that I can think off the top of my head. If anything, maybe another episode on Marvel stuff, because we only scratched the surface, and we've been just talking like about little things all over the place, and there's so much more we could talk about. So maybe in another episode.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, leave us a comment if you want to hear more about Marvel stuff. If you have a favorite or least favorite Marvel movie, franchise, show, whatever, let me know. Let us know if you have any like recommendations for me, because that is the thing, because like Nathan said what if, but if you guys think that I should watch something else, let me know. I'm always interested in hearing what people should tell me to watch. Like, I'm just a sheep. Don't watch something, I'll watch it. But no, thank you for listening, guys. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and check us out on all podcast platforms. Link are in the description. And is that all, Nathan? Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. Bye, guys.
Bye.